am back for the 5th, 6th, 7th. Who knows? This time I'm not making any promises. I keep getting random things that pop up. This time I'm here. Enjoy it while it lasts. Anyway, I've come up with a. I don't know if it's original. I haven't seen anyone else do this before. But we're gonna see if I post it. Let's hope. Alright? Let's hope. Alright, so what I'm going for this time. I guess I should say this first. I am sorry to any of those who were really excited for me to get back in and upload every day like I said I was. I might. There is a good possibility I will. But life is a sack of shit, ain't it? So, let's not get our hopes up. But I am excited for, recording again. I haven't for a while. And there's just something mystical about it. Sharing your, Oh, that's my AC. God damn it. Whatever. I think you guys forgive me. Sharing your creativity with others, it's weird, but it's fun. Alright, so the idea I had right now is, as you can see by the title, what if Deku had adaptable? Now, this is going to be a lot like the normal anime. I'm not going to change up too much. There is one major change. And now, I'm not changing up much at the start, like, up until he gets his powers. But, yeah. Aside from that, let's just hop into it. This what if will start off where most of mine do, at his birth. He is born completely normal. Beautiful young child. Now we're doing a time skip for a while. We time skip about 4 years, I believe it is in the anime, when he gets his quirk checked out. Yeah, it's 4. He's running around when his mom comes to pick him up from school. He, rides to the quirk doctor, walks on inside, and sits down in the chair where the doctor does his stuff, his tests. This time, it's different. We flash over to see Izuku and Inko sitting down in chairs in the sort of convenience room. The office. Yeah, his office. There we go. Brain. Work. Yes. Izuku is kicking his legs back and forth while sitting on a chair excitedly. His mother seems nervous, and the doctor looks up and speaks to Inko. Well, ma'am, your son does have a quirk, but we can't tell what it is. We know it's there because he waves his hand over at a board that basically we see 2 pictures, one of Izuku's foot and some sort of gene cell. You see that, you see how his pinky toe only has 1 joint? Everyone who has a quirk has that second joint in their pinky toe removed. I don't know if it was, or we don't know if it's because it makes us run faster or what. We just know as we evolved to gain quirks, our body evolved to remove that second joint. So he has a quirk, also explained by that gene cell that we found that is unordinary. It seems every test we did with his blood changed. It was odd. But other than that, he has a quirk. It's probably going to take a while for him to figure out what it is, though. as we couldn't awaken it through the tests. Uh, this is what is known as a dormant quirk, and it may stay that way for all of his life, most of his life, or it might awaken tomorrow. We really don't know. It's all up to chance, I guess. Izuku looks excited but confused, and Inko is just happy for her son. Izuku looks over to his mom, jumps up as they give each other a nice little hug. Inko thanks the doctor and says that they'll come back if they figure out what his quirk is. He nods, and they leave. Now, nothing happens for quite a while. We flash to the last day of middle school. He's going to high school soon, and he's quite anxious. He signed up for his top choice school, and it's just waiting. As he's sitting in class, everyone is chattering and chippering, excited for what's to come. The teacher hasn't come in, and it's been 5 minutes since, the bell rang. Well, class started, we could say. But eventually, he gets there, as the teacher walks over behind his desk, takes a seat, and starts looking through papers. He then stares up at the class as he says, normally today we would be consulting you on your on your career paths, but I'm pretty sure we all know everyone's going for the hero course. Everyone cheers and makes a ruckus as everyone starts using their quirks. The teacher quickly grabs his papers as he stands up and says, alright, what high schools are we going to? As he looks at all the papers and says, well, everyone... and then he starts listing off school names. Yes, this is different from the anime, but whatever. And eventually, at the very last, gets to, UA. And at this point, everyone is just staring at Deku and Bakugo, because those are the only two names that haven't been listed yet. Bakugo seems to be too focused on himself to realize that, Izuku's name hasn't been called. So when he looks at Bakugo and says, Katsuki Bakugo, signed up for UA. How surprising, he says with a deadpan face. Then he looks over with his eyebrows raised at Izuku and says, Izuku Midoriya? Why in God's name would you sign up for UA? You haven't even awakened your quirk yet. And everyone in the class mimics, in their own words, that exact sentence, and all break out in laughter as it is interrupted by Bakugo looking towards them and shouting, Quiet, let me speak! He looks over towards Izuku and says, Really? You would really sign up for the same school as me? He walks forward as he blows up Izuku's desk, and the teacher says, Bakugo, settle down! Bakugo seems not to notice, as he gets real up into Izuku's face and says a threat that I will not mutter. Class goes on as Izuku's just keeping his head down, not answering any questions, even when called on, just trying to stay out of people's minds. And when everyone else leaves except for Izuku, Bakugo, and two of his goons, as I like to call them in these what-ifs, walk over to his desk as Izuku is writing down hero notes from a fight he saw coming to school. It was between Tangly Woods and a gigantification hero. Or villain, sorry. And right before Tangly Woods was about to use his ultimate attack and finish off the villain, Mount Lady does a perfect drop kick and takes the fame. That's not what Izuku is writing down, though. Izuku is writing the notes on how they used their powers and different combinations that he would recommend, things like that, analyzing as he does. Bakugo walks over and places his hand on top of Izuku's book as he explodes that too. It doesn't turn into dust or anything, it's just charred. Bakugo wasn't trying to hurt Izuku yet. He looks at Izuku and says, "Don't even think about showing up to UA. The entrance exam is my show. If you show up, I'll fucking kill you." Then, without any further words, throws Izuku's journal out the window and walks out. Izuku is startled and shocked. That happened so fast. He didn't even get to complain about his journal before it all ended. Izuku then got really sad, as at this point he just looks like a normal kid, the same as in the actual anime scrawny. Ignore the picture that's up right now. Well, he heads down, making sure Bakugo's not in the halls he walks, and goes out to, the side of the building where his journal lays in a pond being slowly eaten by fish. And he thinks, my life's dreams are turned into fish food, as he picks up his journal out of the water and shakes it off, sad, puts it in his backpack and starts to walk home, taking a shortcut, because he just wants to lay down in his bed. He's exhausted with life, waiting for his quirk to awaken all these years, and it not awakening was agony. As he is walking through this tunnel, he hears he hears a loud booming sound almost, as he turns around and sees bits of concrete and dust falling, as he looks up and sees the manhole stuck in, the bottom side of the bridge. This was a stone bridge, and, it wasn't really a bridge. Whatever. If you know what it is, you know what it is. And crawling, oozing maybe, out of the manhole is this gelatinous goo that slowly forms into an upright, almost humanoid, creature with no legs, a giant grin, and eyes that are as beady as fucking marbles. He looks at Izuku, he looks him up and down and says, "Ah, you'll do," as he dashes forward and swiftly wraps around Izuku, trying to peel his mouth open and take over his body. Izuku was thrashing about, trying to get a grip and wrench this villain from his self, as the villain is oozing through his nose, his opened mouth, just getting in general. Izuku tries to scream as his body... The best I can say this, suddenly he feels a snapping sound, a pop almost, as his blood rushes through his body, and he grows gills on either side of his neck. But they're not gills that, take in water. They literally just make him breathe. He's confused as the ooze starts oozing out of his pores, and his teeth grow to close the gap. It's unbelievable, as the villain throws him out, trying to knock him out so he can take over the body. Izuku lands and rolls, shaking himself off as these mutations that happen to him stop and wiggle back to normal. He looks at himself as he's very confused on what's happening, and his quirk is strong. As he is about to get into another brawl with this slime monster, gelatinous villain, whatever, suddenly All Might hops out of the sewers as he says, "Detroit, smash!" as he punches into the villain, and the villain splatters is the best way I can, describe it. Izuku, seeing his hero, is excited, is enthralled as he runs to All Might and holds out his journal, asking, "Could you sign my journal?" All Might says, "Ah, let's clean up the villain first." Izuku nods, thinking it makes sense, as they both run around with bottles of water, or emptied out bottles of water that All Might had in a convenience store bag. After they get him all tidied up, the villain, of course, into 2 bottles, All Might looks at Izuku and says, "Ah, you wanted me to sign your journal, correct?" Izuku nods as he hands him his journal, and All Might starts scribbling away his name and shit. Izuku starts rambling and rambling and rambling. Then, as soon as he gets his journal back, he's about to ask All Might a question when All Might interrupts and says, "Well, young man, could I get your name? I don't know how, but you seem to survive the attack of that villain." Izuku shakes his head, confused. Who would ask that? Whatever. Or who would say that, almost? It's Izuku Midoriya, sir. Also, if you haven't concluded this on your own, I'm using my own dictionary almost for narrating. It's not how they would speak, but I've gotten comments from people before saying, "That's not what he would say exactly." I'm like, no, it's not. I'm narrating. It's not them. It's not the voice actor. The writer isn't giving me my script. Anyway, sorry, continuing. All Might says, "Well, young Midoriya, good luck on your journeys ahead," as he just jumps away. And you're asking, what? Well, he did that because he had less time now than he did in the anime. The chase went on for a bit longer than it did in the anime, and by a bit I mean like 20-30 minutes. So he jumps away, and as soon as he lands on the closest building, but what he didn't know is Izuku was on his leg. As he lands on the building, he turns around and sees Izuku standing there, and he is out of time as he starts to shrink and disperse this fog almost. Izuku was ranting off about how he's sorry, he shouldn't have done that, but he had to ask him a question, and as soon as he sees what All Might looks like, he gets confused, as instead of All Might, there's Small Might, a thin, bony, skeletal figure who starts to cough up blood with his sunken eyes and drooping hair, completely opposite of what we know All Might to look like. As Izuku says, "What the hell? Are you an imposter?" I'm sorry. "Are you a shapeshifter? What?" He starts rambling off again, as All Might shakes his head and says, "No." He then goes to explain as he shows up his wound. He explains that he was injured in a fight a long time ago, and this injury has made it so he can only, be a hero for a certain amount of hours. And Izuku starts to think that his quirk is some sort of gigantification as well, but not to the scale of others. But instead of, just gaining the giantness, he gains the same strength that giant would have, just in a smaller body. That's the conclusion he draws as All Might shakes his head and says, "I have to be going." Izuku starts to try and follow as he asks, "I have one question. My quirk hasn't awakened, and we don't know if it ever will. Do you think it's possible for me to be a hero?" And the look All Might gives back to Izuku is sad. As he says, If it hasn't awakened yet, it's most likely not. And you can't be a hero without a quirk. It's dangerous enough as it is. As Izuku stands there, destroyed, All Might opens the door to the top floor of this building as he just walks down. Izuku sits there, tearing and crying for a little bit, and then he hears a boom. And yes, his quirk did awaken. He was just sort of, occupied thinking, I don't want to die right now. So, didn't work exactly how you would think. Also, no, his quirk will not be like that the whole time. You'll see. He immediately runs down the staircase. This was a few minutes after All Might already left. And he hears several more explosions go off, one and another and another and another. As he's running through the streets, he gets to the scene where there's a crowd gathering. And he stares into a decently wide alley, and there's a hero that... And this is what he actually looks like in the anime, for any of those who are listening with no knowledge of the actual anime. Fire hydrant man, with his arms detaching like, the hose on a fire truck. He starts spraying out fires, and there's a man wearing these stone-like gauntlets of just... think of it as metal as you can get. Also with him, there's a man in, I think, a yellow, blue, and red sort of jumpsuit, almost, that is sort of just standing there watching, as the man with the gauntlets is trying to get to the slime villain, but the explosions from the person trapped inside and combined whips of slime that are trying to bat at him is stopping all of his progress. Izuku sees this and notices who has been captured. Bakugo. And for those of you that haven't watched the anime and don't know why he's about to do what he's about to do, Bakugo and Izuku used to be really good friends. Up until Bakugo fell off of a bridge into water, Izuku immediately rushed down to help him. Bakugo at this time had his quirk, and Izuku, of course, hadn't. They were both like 5 or 6, so... and also by this time, everyone had been complimenting Bakugo, and Bakugo had basically grown a big head. A large ego. In the shortest terms possible I can say without making this 40 minutes long, Bakugo says, "Stupid, quirkless Izuku, I don't need your help." Or, stupid, quirkless Izuku, I don't need your help. I'm the best. As he pushes him off and he climbs up, Izuku, being shocked, stayed still as Bakugo and the other 2 goons run off. This sort of broke them apart. Bakugo thought Izuku was looking down on him, and he hated that because, his ego was too large. So, yeah. But Izuku only remembers, or not only, but mainly remembers the kind thoughts, the fun play dates they had, that sort of things, the adventures they went on when they were little. So, without thinking, without his mind really knowing what it's doing, he starts bounding forward, running faster and faster. As he runs forward, he ducks one of the water hoses coming out of the fire hydrant hero, and then rolls and then keeps running as he spins, grabbing his backpack off of his back and throwing it at the slime villain, which it hits his eyes and some papers fly out, blocking the slime villain's vision. As he runs forward and starts clawing at the slime that is holding Bakugo, as Bakugo says, "You damned nerd, I didn't ask for your help!" as Bakugo did free him enough so that he could breathe, as there are muffled explosions going off inside of the slime villain, but they're getting weaker and weaker as it goes on. As he says, I didn't need you to ask! And he keeps digging out Bakugo, but he's not getting any progress. And right as the slime villain forms a deadly whip and is about to strike Izuku, there comes All Might as he rushes forward, grabbing Izuku and Bakugo in one swipe of his hand, as he then yells, Detroit Smash! As he punches into the villain, and this time he splatters double. Yeah, double splatter, imagine. And what we then snap back a few seconds prior, All Might was standing in the crowd as Small Might was standing in the crowd as Izuku ran forth with an act of bravery and heroism that he hasn't seen in most heroes recently. So this inspired Small Might to become Big All Might. What the fuck? Anyway, All Might runs forth and does as I previously narrated, as he sets the boys down and says, you were brave out there. He says it just, not addressing either one of them, but at the same time addressing both of them. But that was a stupid idea there, as he then does address Midoriya. Next time, don't try to be the hero. As he smiles towards the cameras that are just about to reach them and jumps away. Izuku, shaky a bit, gets talked to by the press a bit, as people are telling him how stupid he was to try that, and he thinks that he did a good thing. He helped, save Bakugo. Why are they treating him so badly? But he just runs home, trying to, ignore the prior events, and just thinking, I really want to sleep. But he is stopped by a man with blonde hair standing in the road. As Small Might looks towards him, he says, Young Midoriya. Izuku looks towards him, confused. Yeah? I was wrong. I told you a lie. Izuku seems confused, as All Might says, when you ran to save your friend, what were you thinking? Izuku thinks on the fact, confused on where the subject is coming from, as he says, nothing, just how to save Bakugo. I thought of throwing my bag in his eyes, or in the slime villain's eyes, so that he wouldn't attack me. So, nothing when you started running. No, I just started running without my command, really. Now, if you ask the heroes of my time, they will all tell you that they did the same, and that is why they became a hero. What was the feeling afterwards, before the press and I talked to you? Glee, happiness that I could help someone? That I saved someone? Ah, there we go. Now, the lie I told you is, Izuku Midoriya, you can become a hero. Izuku's confused, as he says, I can? Yes. Through my guidance and my assistance, you may become the hero that you wish to be. Izuku seems confused. What? I don't have a quirk. But you will. My quirk allows me to pass it down to new generations. Well, to one new student. My quirk is called One for All. It has been passed down for generations and generations. If you accept my guidance and my quirk, you can become a hero. Zuko is confused, but he says, "You're lying. No one can pass down their quirk." All Might says, "No one that's been documented." Zuko nods his head and says, "If you're telling the truth, then yes, I would love to." As All Might nods his head, and Izuku starts to cry from relief. I'll make this 40 minutes because I do want to explain what happens. Now, the training montage goes by. There are 10 months until the UA entrance exam. And through all of the 10 months, All Might has Izuku training. And at the last day of the 10 months, the day of the training exam, Izuku finally finishes his task, which was to clear a extremely dirty beach. And I'm talking cars and refrigerators and just trash stacked probably 20 to 30 feet tall. It is horrible. But the reason I'm skimming over this is because we have such little time left, don't we? Izuku looks at All Might and says, I did it! So, how does that work? As he waves at All Might's biceps. All Might says, "Oh, how do I pass down my quirk to you? Well, young Midoriya, you just need to ingest some of my DNA," he says, pulling a hair from his head, and just nonchalant, as Izuku says, "What?" All Might explains, "To pass down my quirk, it is all part of the DNA. You just must ingest some of it to become the next symbol of peace." Izuku nods his head viciously as All Might hands him the hair and he digests it. Now, what's happening is not how it happened in the show. Instead of just nothing happening, Izuku's body starts to wriggle almost as he goes from a scrawny but muscular kid into what we see in this image. He's taller, about 6 feet tall. He's about a smaller version of All Might. He is stronger. And I'll explain the tattoo as his quirk changes quite a bit. As it no longer can, get him out of any situation. His quirk is adaptable, but now he is only adapted to One for All. As his skin is marked by different points that will adapt him and help him learn how to use his ability. As he can trace those lines and basically have full cowling, but he doesn't know yet. He feels this energy building up inside him as this green electricity is rising from around him. As All Might is confused a bit. Because this growth, he grew like 2 feet, or not 2 feet, he grew like a foot in like 5 seconds, as also his muscles build out and this tattoo formed on his arm. All Might is generally confused. Izuku looks around as he says, "What just happened?" And a new voice. All Might says, "I don't know. Is this normal? I don't believe so, but sleepy? He is confused as well. The starting exam, or the entrance exam, is starting very soon. And also, that stutter did happen. Like, that correction did happen. Good. You might want to head there. You might just make it. Izuku looks around as he thinks, oh yeah, I have like 20 minutes to get on top of a mountain. Shit. As he grabs his stuff, because he did bring what he needed, as he starts running up the, expanse of the street, as he gets onto a bus that is leading to My Hero Academia. And as he is fully ready, he reaches the top as he enters the big building and immediately goes to the writing exam. People are giving him stares he's never got before, and it makes him nervous. And by this, you can guess. Mainly from female participants, but there are a few guys who do it. As he finishes the exam, let's say second or third, he is excited and just immediately heads over to the point where the teacher tells him to go, which is a giant auditorium where standing on stage is our favorite, Present Mike, explaining the upcoming physical exam. He says, alright, this exam consists of groups of participants, mainly groups of 10 to 12, all going into these large cities that are filled with, robots. As he waves his hand at a giant whiteboard behind him, we see 4 robots appear on the screen. A 1-pointer, 2-pointer, and 3-pointer. He doesn't mention the 4-pointer, though, which seems about average, almost. 1-pointers are exactly as they sound. You kill them, break them, destroy them, you get 1 point. The rest are self-explanatory. Now, he is interrupted by a boy with blue hair and glasses that asks, sir, what about the 4th robot? Really? Whatever. The 0-pointer, it's best to ignore it. Run away. If you see it, don't fight it. And then he continues on explaining different details. Eventually, we flash over to see Izuku stepping out of a bus. And now you're asking, wait, what about the whole Ochako meeting? I skipped right over that. It didn't happen. As he stepped on the tile and is about to fall, Adapical kicked in as he boosted power to his right leg without noticing. It's just enough that his leg wouldn't break, and just sort of moved it faster and caught himself. Yeah. So, he basically walks out as he's standing in front of the gate, his nerves going crazy, as at this point he hasn't talked to anyone. Still probably won't, he thinks, as he's just limbering up. And Adaptable is running different situations through his head, and he just sees it perfectly, as he sees filling his body with this power in different places and basically manipulating how much is in it at one point. So that he's not going like 100% at all times, but let's say 20% in all of his limbs, 40 in his chest and head, so that if he gets hit, he doesn't fucking die. And he, adjusted so he can fit up to about 30% already, which is insane. Of, one for all. So, he is ready. he also will just normally have it at 10% in each limb, which, if you don't remember from the anime, was insane. I don't think he actually makes 20% in the current, like, actual anime that is dubbed, at least. Yeah, I don't think so. Um, anyway, I might be wrong. Tell me in the comment section below. Uh, as he is just jacked, ready for it, he feels this almost electric pulse going through his body as everyone around him just instantly turns and looks to see these red lines covering his body, and no one really noticed this before, so it makes me think it's just a way for us to, think about it. But I'm gonna say it's an actual cosmetic, because that is badass. As this green electricity starts to rotate around his body as it's just clinging to his skin like, well, electricity to iron. As President Mike steps out of the bus, stands to one side of the gate as he holds his hand in the air and starts a countdown. 3, 2, and he slams his hand to the ground, or, in front of him as he says, "Go, go, go! There are no countdowns in a real battle." And by 2, before he even slammed his hand down, Azuku stepped forward as time started to slow almost. As everyone around him went to molasses slow, he could count the sweat drops on everyone's heads as he bent down, or dropped to a crouch as he just expanded full, jumping. I would say about 40 feet in the air when the walls are about 30 feet. He sails over, and he knows that he can't land on the ground or he'll break his legs. Even, he doesn't have the preparations for it. So what he does is his mind instantly calculates how much force he needs in his right arm to punch down, lift himself, and basically cushion his fall. So as he slams his hand downwards right before he hits the ground, he flies up about another foot and lands perfectly on the ground. As he sees the first robot to his left, he blurs over as the first person through is Ida, the boy with blue hair and glasses. As he's about, just to look over, even Zuko's even faster than he is, as he stands suddenly in front of this robot, and he bends backwards as he, instead of yelling it so not everyone knows, he just says, "Detroit, smash!" As he hits the robot. It crumples like a can as it flings backwards. That is 15% for you, my friends. His arm doesn't break. It doesn't even, the skin doesn't even break. It's just barely red. It is insane. As he then dashes forward, he goes around the city killing robots here, there, left, right, up, and down, eventually finding his way to the middle of the city. He's finishing off a robot that someone else was trying to kill but then ran away because he got scared. As he just simply flicks it and it crumples like a can and falls over. He is just so... He feels glee, pleasure, and just, he feels so fucking badass. As this is basically adult him as a teenager. If you wanted to put it into perspective. All Might with less limitations, basically. As a building explodes and a giant robot, maybe 5, 7, 8 stories tall, maybe more, humongous, as it is just driving, stepping forward almost. He hears a scream, "Help!" while everyone else is running around him, making basically like a break in the river. He sees who is screaming for help, and it's a brunette stuck under rubble. Her leg seems to be caught, and she can't free it. He just runs forward, not thinking about it. As he's taking these giant steps, the robot's foot is about to land on her. He thinks, I don't know what to do. Do I jump and hit its top? Do I run under its foot and push it up? What do I do? and he decides on the former as he runs forward, just barely getting there in time as he puts one arm up, holding the foot there as he taps the rubble and it fucking flings off of her leg as he says, can you stand? She shakes her head and says, no. Zuko says, well, shit. As he pushes the robot, and he is straining. Yeah, he is strong as hell, but this thing is probably several thousand tons. He is pushing and pushing and pushing. And she finds a way to crawl her way out as he quickly lets go of the foot and jumps backwards. As he is flying backwards, he grabs onto the back of her shirt and flings her, just throwing her into the crowd. Someone does catch her. He is glad and now focuses on beating the robot as he jumps upwards. As his mind calculates several different ways to do it, he decides to go with the old haymaker as his arm is wreathed in this green lightning-like electricity. He slams his fist into the head of this ginormous robot as, you guessed it, it crumples like a soda can. As it's falling backwards, he gets about its midsection as he spins and kicks, sending air pressure and like a blade as it cuts the robot's top half off as they fall to the ground, crumpling more. He lands on the ground, breaking one of his legs because he can't be too fabulous. He screams in pain as he almost faints. But his body won't let him do that as it starts slowly knitting his leg together. He feels it and it is painful as he just wants it to stop. He starts crawling towards the gate to see if someone could knock him out. When Recovery Girl shows up, she walks over to him and says, I'll fix you right up, and kisses his forehead as he suddenly gets extremely exhausted as all of One for All just leaves his body. He looks the same, of course. He just doesn't have that electricity around him. Yes, One for All does make his body a lot tougher, but you do remember he was falling from like 40 feet. I know later in the anime, he can like just easily survive those falls, but as his quirk does give him ideas and like it's adaptable, he adapts very easily. But it's day one. He hasn't even had his like actual quirk that long. It's not that advanced. So, breaks his leg as he gets kissed by Recovery Girl. He falls out. Awakening, in his mother's car as she's driving home. She looks at him surprised as he says, oh yeah, found out my quirk awakened. She looks at him as she says, you didn't tell me this before you went to the entrance exam, did you? He shakes his head nervously. And how long have you had your quirk awakened? He looks chagrined as he says, this morning. You signed up to the entrance exam, I'm assuming, before this morning? He nods his head. Why didn't you tell me you were signing up to UA? I thought you wouldn't be very happy. You thought correct. Why would you do this? I've wanted to be a hero since I was born, almost. She chuckles and nods her head. We need to go to the quirk doctors. Are you up for it today? He says, I think I broke a leg. As he looks down, it is healed. I think I just want to go to sleep. His mother respects that as she gets to their house. He lays down and falls into a deep sleep. Well, as you may have guessed, that was a bit of a long episode, ain't it? For my first one back for a while, I feel like it's right. And yes, that is the end of it. Anyone who's been watching for a while, you might want to stick around. I'm teasing a new channel that I might be assisting in. It'll be more shit. But to anyone else, have a wonderful time. I hope to see you back in my ranks on the next time I record. Alright, they're gone? Okay. Well, to those of you awesome champions who stayed behind, I'm probably, with a friend of mine, starting a channel that will be doing completely custom, stories. We will probably be reading some that are written. Of course, we'll get permissions first, but it won't be like what ifs. It'll be story times, creepypasta, and other things like that. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, check back on my channel every so often, and eventually you'll see a video that is titled the name of the channel. I'm not saying it yet because we haven't finished the first video, but when I do, it'll be a teaser to that video, and anyone who is interested in watching, click on it. There will be a link in the description, and there you'll find the link to my and my friend's new channel. Hope to see you there. Love, Hex.